If anyone comes up with a issue about the sermon this morning, it's Jerry's fault. This started as a simple comment I say, last Sunday during Bible study class about looking at the different testaments, looking at how things changed based on signs and such. And so we went from a single comment to an entire sermon now. So welcome to Sunday morning. We do welcome everyone here. It is good to see everyone here this morning. One of the first I talked to was Jerome, and he said it was a blessed day, and I said it might as well be. After all, the psalmist wrote, this is the day the Lord has made, let us rejoice and be glad in it. It is a sign that it is a good day. But why? Well, as someone else in the audience might say, I woke up on top of the ground this morning. So we always have a sign of something. It's how do we interpret that sign? Do we pay attention to the sign? Do we act on it? In Genesis chapter 9 and verse 13, it says, this is God speaking, I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Obviously, right after this is the time right after the flood, God brought a rainbow in the sky and said, this is a sign as a reminder. And if we read the full area of it, it is not just a reminder for man, but God said it is a reminder for me as well. And I think that very interesting, and I dove into that in a previous lesson a while back. But as we look around us in this world, we see signs everywhere. I started thinking about a sign or a song, that says, sign, everywhere's a sign. You know, we can't get to this building without seeing a sign posted someplace. No pass, do not pass, no trespassing, one way, speed limits, stop signs, all these different things. If the Bible were to have signs along the road, what signs would there be? Started thinking about that and being curious about it, and so I've come up with a small list of signs that might show up if we were walking along in the Bible and it had pictures in there. A sign, starting off, is just something that conveys the meaning and that we should have an action to. There's a stop sign sitting right here on the corner. I was driving this morning following somebody, and apparently they don't know what that sign means. About 7 times they hadn't figured it out yet, because every time they just kept on driving and never slowed down, and I stopped at every single one that I was supposed to. They have a meaning, and they usually mean that we're supposed to do something. Such as, and I started thinking about this one, if you go to Yellowstone, there's going to be a sign that says, stay in your vehicle. It's going to have something that says, do not get out and pet the wild animals. There's a reason for that sign. They're not trying to be mean. They're not trying to deprive these wild animals of a good ear scratching. Save that for when you're at home and you got your puppy dog or your cat. They like an ear scratch. The wild buffalo are not accustomed to you coming up and trying to scratch their ears. Sometimes there's a reason for the signs. So as we look at this one here, we see Noah's, the sign that God gave in Genesis 9. That was verse 13. Continuing on, we see, it shall be when I bring a cloud over the earth that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud, and I, this is God speaking, will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature and all flesh. The waters shall never again come a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look on it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature and all flesh on the earth. And God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. When we stop and think about the sign, we are able to see it. It is something that is visual. It has to be seen so that way we can understand it. So if we start looking through the book, and we start in Genesis chapter 2, we might see a sign that says no food or drink. More accurately, it'll say do not eat. And this sign will be posted right in front of a single tree in the garden. In Genesis 2:15 through 17, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. You're allowed to enter the garden. You are to be here and to have a purpose. However, if we keep on reading and look at the sign, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. There would be a sign sitting in front of that tree that says, do not touch. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Now, if we ignore this particular sign, we might get a new sign put up that's a little bit further out. All of a sudden, now there's a no trespassing sign at the entrance of the garden. I think he means it by this one. We fast forward to Genesis 3:24. So he drove out the man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. That do not eat, do not touch sign has just been elevated to a new sign that says no trespassing or no entry. If we don't pay attention to the small signs, they get bigger. As we see with Adam and Eve here, as they went past a sign that God said, do not do this, and they got in even bigger trouble. Man goes into his own ways. We see the spiral of sin as it comes into the world. We see all of these issues, and then God comes and gives a new sign. Moses took and put this one up. He says one way. We've seen this one before. When we come up to a street, unfortunately, I have so much faith in this sign that before I turn onto a street that says one way, I look both ways. Because some people don't pay attention to signs. Moses brings the people to God out of Egypt. He goes into Egypt and brings them the message of God, the deliverance of Him, leads them through the plagues, leads them out of Egypt to the Mount of Sinai. They went to the mountain of God, where He brought the word and the laws of God. He brought them through the desert. He set up the tent of tabernacle. He communed with God and brought him their words. And the word is, there's one way. In Exodus 34, verses 11 and 12, observe what I commanded you this day. It doesn't say do whatever you want to do. It doesn't say go whatever way you want to go. When the people crossed the Red Sea on dry land, what would have happened if they didn't go one way and they tried to turn left or right? The water wasn't coming in on them, but I'm pretty sure if they wanted to disobey God and walk into the water, they probably could have, and that would have caused a whole other set of issues. Well, I don't want to walk on dry land right there. I'm going to go down a few feet and cross over on the water. I don't think that's going to work either. There was one way to do it. And God says, behold, I am driving out from before you all of these people. Take heed to yourself, lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land that I'm driving out, where you are going, lest it be a snare in your midst. Don't go any other way. Take my way with you and go that way. Joshua reinforced that when the people got squirrely on them about who they were going to follow, or the gods of the Amorites or their fathers in Egypt or somewhere else. And he says, choose you this day who you will serve. And the people said, oh, yeah, you're right, Joshua. Let's follow you. There's one way to do this, and that's God's way. I'm going to tell off on myself on this one. For a long while growing up, until I started understanding what these signs meant, I didn't understand this one. It says, do not pass. We're driving down a road, and all of a sudden we get there. It says, do not pass, but we passed by that sign and kept on driving. I'm like, what? It said we can't go any further. No, it means don't go around to someone else. I didn't realize that at first, which illustrates our need for further study of the scriptures, of the laws, or of the commands that were given so that we understand them. As a small child, I didn't understand do not pass doesn't mean I can't walk past that sign or to keep on driving down that road. It just means I can't jump around other people. I have to stay in line. So when we look at do not pass, John chapter 13 says this, most assuredly I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is he who sent him greater than those who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. It is why it is not enough just to see the sign. We also have to follow the sign. When it says do not pass, that means we don't jump around the car in front of us. They might be going slow for a reason. Put it spiritually speaking, if we don't think that Christ is moving fast enough for us, then we need to push him along. We need to get up there and forge the path for him. Didn't they try to do that to him? Master, where is your kingdom? When are you coming back? Where is your throne? Judas tried to expedite this process, went and sold him out for 30 pieces of silver. Don't we try to say, we even had bickerings about who was going to be on his right hand and his left hand. They're trying to go faster than the master. Sometimes we need to take and have the patience to stay in line, not to pass. And on this one here especially, a servant is not greater than the master. We have all these great ideas, we have all these wonderful thoughts, or are they his? Sometimes we've got to make sure that we're in line with what he says. Because after all, hopefully this sign is around each one of our necks. Hopefully this sign is one that we have put on ourselves. Because we are a construction zone. In Romans chapter 6, the whole chapter and surrounding area talks about us being under construction. If we have been united together in the likeness of his death, certainly we shall be in the likeness of his resurrection. How do we get that way? We are not like Christ when we put on Christ. We have to get there. We'll talk more about some of that this afternoon, about more or less with the sermon there. We'll look into Romans chapter 6 a little bit more, but really looking at it on the highlight here, if we have been united together in the likeness of his death, certainly we should also be in the likeness of his resurrection, knowing this, that our old man was crucified with him. Before I can build something new, what has to happen? There has to be a little destruction that happens. Before I can put a new slab down, I've got to either take away the old one or take away the topsoil and make a firm foundation. I've got to build up and get ready. Our old man was crucified with him that our body of sin might be done away with, that we should no longer be slaves of sin. For he who has died has been freed from sin. I'm no longer that road full of potholes and the one that everyone avoids. Now I'm under construction. I'm being built back better because I am being built back in the likeness of his resurrection. I'm in a construction zone. And quite fitting, I have never seen you usually don't see many U-turns in construction zones. There's a little too much chaos going on. There's all the equipment. There's all the building up. But sometimes we get along the road and we see a no U-turn. And perhaps this is even one of the best ones to even remember, between that we're under construction and no U-turns. Think about Christ's simple statement in Luke chapter 9, verse 62. But Jesus said to him, no one having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God. If we're taking and plowing with a manual plow, we have to have our hands set firm and our eyes set straight, because where our eyes go, our body follows. Where our body goes is where that plow follows. If I start doing this right here, What happens to my hands shift, that plow shifts, and now I'm going backwards. I'm going all over the place. If we have started our journey forward, if we have put on Christ, we don't take him off again and go back to being a pothole-filled road. We don't go back to being a condemned building. We want to keep going forward with the renovations, keep going forward with the upkeep. We don't start building a building and then tear it back down again. We don't turn around. We have to remain faithful. Started thinking about it. I didn't even put the stop sign up here on the PowerPoints. There's obvious that when we transform into Christ, part of the construction zone is that there are things that have to be stopped. The question then becomes, which sign do we follow? The Bible's full of them. We started from Adam and came all the way forward through Christ and the apostles. There's a lot of signs that are sitting there. Which ones do we follow? Have we ever been so confused that we don't know which way to go? If you missed out on Bible study last Sunday, here's the simple statement. You're driving down the road, and there's a speed limit sign, and the highway says 65. When you get to town, it says 45. It's a new sign. It's a new law that starts at that sign. We have to start following the new law. We can keep on following the old one, but there may be consequences. The police officer's out here on the road and catches me clocking 65 in a 45. He might have something to say, and he might even give me his autograph. Which sign do we follow? We need to follow the one that we're currently at. As we think about it, we look at Jesus came to fulfill the old law and bring in the new covenant. And very simply, Jesus said in Matthew 5:17, "Do not think that I came to abolish the law or the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill." He came and fulfilled all of those laws. He took down all of the old signs because they are all done. Now we are at the point of a new sign. He put up a new one. We're not lawless. He completed the law. He took them all down. We still remember that they were there. We can see that they were there. The old has been nailed to the cross. Colossians 2 and verse 14. He took care of all things for us. In order for us to do all these things, we must obey the laws of the land. We must obey the signs that we come across that inform us what to do. When it says 45, that doesn't mean 75. When it says stop, it doesn't mean blow through it. When it says no U-turn or one way, we have to understand what these are. And as Christians, Christ leads the way for us, and perhaps the most important sign, I know what I said earlier, but I'm going to revise that now, is the sign that Christ put up that says, "Follow me." He said, "Follow me." When he was picking his disciples, he says, "Come, follow me." When he looks at us and all of those around him, he says, "Follow me." He doesn't say, "Take your hand off the plow and turn around." He says, "Follow me." Weak and heavy laden, follow me. Looking for eternal life, follow me. It amazes me, in our trips down to Jackson these last few weeks, we happened to be coming out of Jackson during rush hour time at a few times, and the turn to get to one of our exits is 3 lights long. If only the exit of people out of the world to follow Christ would be that long. Are we backed up waiting to follow Him? Are we do not pass in a turn lane? We're waiting to follow Him. We're in the right spot doing the right things. If only people would be that anxious and that focused of following Christ. He says, follow me. The question is, are we? Are we getting off at this exit? Are we following Him? I do like this picture because I was lucky enough that it does say exit number 1. Because that is the top choice. Any other choice is not going to be good. I'm going to wait to get off at this exit. I'm in line and I'm not passing. I'm following the Master. Are all of us doing that? If there's anyone here that is not doing that, we encourage you to do so. It's not too late to get in this line. It's not too late to follow this sign, to put the under construction sign on. If we've gotten out of this line trying to go off into the way of the world in a different direction, we can get you back in line. We can help one another do so. If there's any needs that need to be met, if there's any one that would like to express them at this time, we offer it now while together we stand and sing.